The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of any affiliated organizations, employers, or sponsors. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.
Hi Navraj, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Yeah, thanks for having me as well. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you on. So Navraj, tell us a bit about CHL.
So Sid, before I start, I want to ask you and Rishi a question, right? What do you guys believe is the best kind of energy to exist? And you can name any type of energy. It could be whatever you're used to.
Oh, you've put us on the spot immediately at the beginning of this podcast.
I would say solar, because that's
Okay,
I feel like
yeah.
most invested, globally.
Yeah, I would also say solar as well. I'll say obviously it depends on like geographically where we are. If it's obviously a less sunny country, but generally I would go with solar as well.
Yeah. So you guys aren't wrong, man. At the end of the day, people they go to your solar because that's the main energy management system that they know. But looking at the weather patterns and how they exist, look for example, you're based in the UK, aren't you?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So if you can see how the weather patterns go over there. You hardly, when do you get sun? When does the sun touch your face on throughout the year?
For I think a maximum of like 10 minutes per year.
Yeah, so think about it as your business as well. How long would you sustain with, especially being in Europe, being in cold and harsh conditions? How is your business going to sustain using solar? So, uh, moving on to CHL, we we don't discount the solar dependency. I believe most businesses have that. It's a very wide known energy management system, but we mainly use IoT systems to analyze your energy waste patterns, right? And that's what CHL is. So we are best energy partners. We get our SaaS and our IT systems, and we get our real-time data as well from Best Energy. And we consult with big manufacturers. It could be hotel industries as well. And we liaise with them and we draw up a contract where we can analyze the machineries, or well, let's say if you're in a hotel, like uh, your daily expenditure or in your hotel rooms or your heated swimming pool or your spa. And we look at the like the excess waste that we can assess on a daily basis. Now, through that, we after observing for let's say a month, we'll come up with benchmarks and we follow that. So we get alarming systems and we get the triggering from the machinery once we apply the benchmarks, and we get a red flag. So it helps us with our analysis to know that either the top management is not following our benchmark, and we have it in written, and we have the alarm as well set up for that. And we conduct a thorough strategy with the top management to sort of mitigate that energy waste. So it's looking at the energy waste as well. Now, realistically speaking, it only works with big manufacturers, the ones that cannot control their energy expenditure and usually have big energy bills. So I'm talking within the range of, let's say, 50,000 and above annually, USD. So this strategy usually works with bigger corporations. Yeah, but other than that, other energy management systems like solar would work for the regular small business or medium-sized enterprises as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned best energy partners. Can you explain a bit more about what that actually means?
So Best Energy is basically, they provide us with the SaaS, right, where we get our data analytics as well, and they provide us with the IoT system. So we put the IoT systems into your electric board, and through that, it analyzes your machinery by the minute. So they provide us with the services, and they collect about 4.6 billion data points a month, right? So they've already got various partners. And funny enough, you can read those case studies as well. They have a lot of flower farms that they're doing in Kenya as well. They have Heathrow Airport actually uses Best Energy services. So they're mainly established in the UK, and it was founded in the UK. And it was all bootstrapped. It was not VC funded or any of that. And it sort of turned into this new way of, or form to analyze energy. I think they've been in the market for about 10 years now, and they're gradually growing. But yeah, sub-Saharan Africa is definitely a market because um, we use certain energy management systems like geothermal as well, which is very big for Kenya, and Kenya is actually a front runner. But realistically, in Kenya, Richie can also tell you this, that KPLC is sort of like a dinosaur. You can't really rely on them
Yeah,
to
those
give
are
you
our
any
energy suppliers.
sustainability practices and whatnot. So it comes out to the private sector. We need to make the move and create sustainability options, better sustainability options, to sort of, it's like analyzing the gap that we're in. So yeah, that's what compelled me to actually become a best energy partner as well.
Okay, nice, nice. So, if I'm not wrong, you're part owner of the company, right?
Yeah. So it's mainly based on the project, right? So we basically draw up an investment and see whether the investment is viable. So the operations are still continuing, but we go by the project. It's not we pay for the SaaS, we pay for um, the services as well. We also have a sales target that we have to achieve with Best Energy, and we we adhere to all the standards. But realistically, when we get a project, that's when we actually um, put the funding in, and that's where we know whether we should take a project and whatnot. So there's a lot of modeling involved in the energy with the energy project, and also the financial part of it as well. So yeah, it's based on a project to project.
So, how long have you been doing this for?
I started last year June. So I started, yeah. I was I talked to a lot of manufacturers then, but I realized the harsh reality in Kenya is that it's when you want to convince somebody about clean energy or energy management systems, I believe the bigger manufacturers who have the energy bills, like we do our part to pass on the message, um, but I found it really tough to start off with when generating leads and passing on that message. When you give a proposal, a lot of questions are asked that move away from the business model, and that's one of the hardships I found. I'll give you, for example, when we propose an idea, it's usually um, you have to buy the systems outright, right? But usually manufacturers will come out to tell us that we have to buy the software or the IT systems, and we have to like we have to input all the IT systems as well, and yeah, that was moving away from the business model, So it's kind of delivering a fruitful way of doing the business, but yeah, the biggest challenge was moving away from the business model for me. And we adhere to other, what do you call it, like net zero targets as well. We try and achieve the net zero target by 2030, and we're definitely looking forward to whenever we get a project to actually hit net zero by 2030. And our project only lasts for 5 years, and after 5 years, we expect whatever we've done, um, we may like we've already, what do you call it? After the 5 years are done, we expect the company to follow our guidelines and to strategically, use them for their future benefits. So yeah, that's our whole business model as well.
Mhm. Okay, that's interesting because I also want to touch upon what you said about the challenge of like convincing people. Because then, what's the attitude of sustainability and efficient energy in Kenya, for example? Because generally, it's more of a
Um,
it's more promoted in you can say developed economies, right?
yeah,
To be fair, Raj, also give you can give us as an example as well.
yeah. So I approached Rishi in regards to this, actually. So if most of the audience don't know, Rishi is part of a big family business. They're mainly in textiles, and I thought they were prospective client as well. And realistically, I knew when I talked to Rishi about this, um, I I thought he really liked the idea, but it was mainly convincing the top management or the top directors in his company about
Yeah,
all of this.
yeah. Rishi is not the boss yet, right?
I mean, he works hard. I know Rishi is a hard worker. So eventually, but it's it's yeah. So it was mainly, realistically speaking, that it's you try to pass on the message and whatnot, but it comes down to the top management. So convincing the top management, and once you get the director's approval, I believe, coming down to like the management, they're your main focus because they're the ones who are mainly hands-on. So if, let's say, I got Rishi's approval in regards to Kenneth or whatever, he's I would be in charge of his managers, and I would be analyzing their machinery on a daily basis.
Okay, and so in let's say a scenario like this, when you're trying to convince clients, what's generally the biggest roadblock? Is it like cost? Is it time? The time that you need to take to for this to be set up? What are generally barriers for you?
Mainly costs, because they look at it as so the thing is, we're against one-off payments, right? And whenever we approach clients, they're like, we need a one-off payment. We want to have this, and we want to have the system in place, but we want a one-off payment because we want to do it mainly in-house, right? Which doesn't really work, right? So you'll just pay us the fee. We'll give you the copyrights and everything for whatever you want to do. But there's no training involved. There's no, um, working together as a team to make that constructive case study that you're trying to achieve. So the main problem is the people who like the idea want to go on and make it an in-house project for themselves, which um, yeah, which again is moving away from the business model. So everything that I'm against right now is when people try and persuade me to move away from the business model, because it's not going to work in the long run. Like, we have the expertise, we've done the course, we've done whatever it is to understand and to make CHL what it is, right? And moving away from the business model just makes it a lot more tougher.
Okay, and so it's because you mean let's say you give an example for Rishi, but I just want to do like a bit of a scenario. Let's say okay, you've convinced so you've convinced Rishi, and then they've taken you on board. Can you take us through like the steps and the processes that will now happen from your
Yeah,
from your side, and then
yeah.
sort of
So
the touch points I will have over, you said, like 5 years, for example.
yeah, so initially we do a gap analysis. We find out how many machinery you have, your expenditure for the last 12 months, and then we send it to the UK team, where they do an analysis on your 12 years electricity bill, and then they do a bit of hypothesis testing as well in regards to the service that they've used to something similar to the sector. Like, let's say, in regards to Rishi's like textile business or whatever, they'll do a survey that other businesses have done, and we'll come up with a gap analysis, and we'll use the gap analysis to, like, we'll have a quotation metrics as well. So we have a step-by-step guideline to understand how, through the gap analysis, how we can quote you for the systems that we're going to impose into your business as well. And after that, we we come up with a proposal, and then we sign an EMAS contract. Um, and and then after that, we input the IoT systems and whatever it is that we provide. And after that, game on. So we give about a month to for the systems to adapt to your machinery, to analyze the data, and then we start your general reporting through that, and then we find which machinery is operating at um, at a higher capacity. So we get like your kilowatts an hour. We get like your like every single sort of machinery expenditure as well. So through that, it takes about a month for us to analyze it, and then it's mainly reporting. And after we've found the gap, it's automated reporting. So it automatically generates once. Oh, I forgot to tell you that it's also AI configured. So it uses AI as well. So it analyzes through AI, and yeah, so it's mainly a reporting, and we touch base after 4 months, and we come up with a report, and we see how, well, like, where the excess of the electricity is, and that's mainly it. Yeah, so we're basically energy consultants, and yeah, that's mainly what
Let
we
me
do.
ask you, from like the businesses you've been through, surveyed, and
Yeah,
talked with, where is the biggest energy loss areas? It could be different, I'm sure, for everything,
Hot-
but
hotels
what
mainly. Hotels mainly, because at the end of the day, like we've all stayed in hotels, Rishi. We know, like, nobody's always switching off the lights. You're cranking up
Yeah,
your
that's true.
AC. So personally, I don't have an energy project, which sorry, a hotel project, but I do know um, best energy. There are some best energy partners who got move-in pick in Nairobi, and they managed to save close to 80,000 a year for them.
USD.
So the yeah, USD. So the
That's amazing.
main the the main energy waste was within what do you call it, heated swimming pools, the spas. They found it a challenge because for the rooms, because realistically you have to do your part as a hotel, and you can't really tell your client, your customers, that, listen, you can't especially if you're a five-star hotel, you can't tell your customers that you can't switch off the lights at this time, and you have to switch it off at this time, right? So they found it really tough, but they still inputted it into some of the rooms, and they found that s- some of the staff weren't actually switching off the lights when they were meant to switch off. So it, that part of the analysis was also monumental for them, because they could then go to the hotel staff and tell them, look, we have a record that these specific rooms, weren't switched off then. What was happening here? Um, and yeah, so they got to the root of the problem, and yeah, it was quite interesting to see that this the system could do so much, but I think it's still at the baby phase of where it needs to be in Africa, especially in East Africa. So we try our best to spread awareness, but definitely hotel, and also mainly steel manufacturers in Kenya. Like you got this big companies like Simba Steel, Mabati Rolling Mills as well. I know we talked to one in Uganda recently called Tembo Steel. Um, so if you can save even 15% or 20%, like the steel mills have close to $1 million uh, in uh, in energy bills on a monthly basis, right? If you can save 30% of that, that's close to 300,000. That's such a huge. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but the systems make it easier for you to analyze. Like, how do you know that you're do do aside from the podcast? You guys work in like corporate offices, right, and whatnot. So let's say a corporate office that you're going to analyze, right? Your AC is cranked up on a daily basis. How do you get real time data for your AC? This is the question.
No, I mean in a big company, you don't really get access to, like, as an employee, I wouldn't really know.
Okay, yeah. So like realistically, your managers or whoever's in charge of uh, your energy in terms of the energy bills and whatnot, right? It could be your accountant or your financial controller. He would want to know, let's say, how much of what's the usage of the AC, right? And how we can minimize the cost of it. So we when we input like whatever systems that we want in place, we can get real time data on your AC as well, and it's worked. When I give proposals and whatnot, we use a case study from Falk. It's a healthcare system in the Netherlands, if I'm not wrong, and they purely monitored um, the HVAC systems, and that was their main like goal. And they 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 realized they didn't have to, like, the staff was doing everything correct, but the heaters were just cranked up when they at such an abnormal rate that they didn't have to be there. So that was sort of a case study that they worked on. Yeah. So right now uh, we're working on a query as well. So what where we have realized most of the excess waste goes is mainly into the jaw crusher. So when the stones are placed through the jaw crusher, and one of the jaws was worn out. So when it used to crush, right, and used to get stuck, that was like it used to vibrate a lot on the same spot and vibrate more than it should, and they were losing. Um, so they would do crushing almost every day. It's a very seasonal. So let's say the whole month of Feb they'll do crushing. So that particular jaw crusher was 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 um, consuming so much energy that we had to um, we had to tell the top management that they needed to replace the jaw crusher for it to be utilized properly, and that was one of the biggest expenditure. And this is where you realize that when the advice you give may not be taken um, uh, very seriously. So we encountered a problem where people were like, "Oh, what do they know about our operations?" And they're not really hands on with the business, or they're just analyzing it, right? So it might not be the jaw crusher was worn out. It could be something else. Maybe It's maybe it's the type of stones we're using, or like other stuff. And um, it kept on happening throughout the season, and we had to take a video and actually show the whole process of how it's going. And we conducted a survey um, in regards to the jaw crusher only, because realistically we can't move on to other machinery when we have found waste in regards to that aspect. Um, and So we analyzed it. We gave a report in regards to it, and it somewhat made sense to them after that. So they replaced the jaw crusher. So even when you do find that energy waste and where it's coming from, uh, delivering the message as well, it's another target. So people taking you seriously in that aspect uh, needs to be
Yeah,
there
that's
as
a
well.
yeah, that's an interesting point because obviously these solutions can be implemented across various industries. And so, what the common trends or like common focus points that you see which are transferable across all the industries? Because I'm sure there are specific differences in each, but what are some of the common themes that you've noticed?
Sorry.
What are some of the common themes that you have noticed which can apply across various industries in terms of, and things like sort of inefficient machinery, etc., etc. I mean, I'm sure there are things that are applicable across all industries, regardless of what it is, right?
Um, I think so. Different industries use different machineries, right? Um, it's mainly understanding how. So you get more hands-on, and you have to understand about different operations, right? You need a roadmap, and that's very important in this aspect. Because if I tell you an energy strategy for a quarry and a hotel, completely different, completely different. They use completely different um, machinery, right? So manufacturing is totally different, and in terms of hotel, it's mainly analyzing, the it's more standardized. I believe hotels are more standardized because all of them have a spa, all of them have a heated swimming pool. They have rooms that are consuming a lot of energy. But when you come to manufacturing, the the machinery, like if you're producing, let's say you have a printing press, you're producing paper, you're an offset printer, right? You use offset printing, for example. The machinery is used in a different way, right? But the good thing that I've noticed is most of the operators know what they're doing, and they understand the machinery more than you. So if you continuously do your job by understanding um, their operations, and not implementing strategies from the start, just understanding from their perspective, or going there once in a while, like I do a gamble walk um, for the site, and let's say every month, because I need to, right? I need to have that sort of connection with the operators, or with the people, with the top management in charge, because that through if you just do it remotely throughout, you're just getting the analytics, and you're just giving them the analytics part, right? But you being there real time makes a big difference as well.
And then, so once you finish the project, you is it generally common that then management continues to implement
Yeah,
those approaches later on as well?
yeah. So we only have a contract for 5 years, and after that, we assume, not assume, we're confident that the management will take over whatever it is, and it's mainly giving you a trajectory of how things should work. But the only reason why we came here is because you didn't have um, the real-time data to make those uh, informed decisions that you need to make, right? and that's the main reason we're here. We're there. We provide you with this technology. We show you how to use it. We're part of the case study. We leverage the case study to help other people, other industries, and we do our part for 5 years, and then we move on to the next, right? So that's how we work mainly. But depending on the size of your team, it's best that you take one project at a time, right? So like I'd say for CHL, we're mainly just 4 people, right? So we got like the one person who does the daily analytics. There's one person in charge of sales. It's one person in charge of the finance, and one person who is in charge of installation. Um, and let's say if we get a big company, um, we'll have to actually make a bigger team, depending on the size of the industry and what. So there, 4 people can only do so much in certain industries. But yeah, um, at, at, after this, I will definitely share a website. Our website, Best Energy's website as well, and you can read their case studies. Uh, they've got very good case studies with flower farms, the hotels I mentioned. Yeah, so it's monumental stuff. It's a very common. I think it's very popular in the UK. Um,
Yeah, no,
and
definitely share that with us, and we'll obviously share it when posting this episode as well. I think a lot of people will be interested in reading about
yeah.
it. I'm also curious as to, so you mentioned their 5 years contract. Why 5 years? As in, why not more or less?
Um, depending on the size. Look, so this is assumption that your business hasn't scaled to the point that uh like the size of your business hasn't increased, right? So we just take realistically 5 years is enough to impose those to give you the benchmarks and to help you scale the business from what it is uh, from now. But so we're mainly just in charge of energy waste, and once you figure that out, um, our job is done. We 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 can't help you with anything else. We're just purely there for the energy, right? So I think 5 years would be enough to. Um, I think 5 years is too much. That's what I'm trying to say as well. 5 years is too much, but the contracts and our business model proposes 5 years. So that's why we use 5 years as a guideline.
Okay, and then in terms of competition, let's say in Kenya, what is like in terms of competition for these monitoring and energy efficient businesses?
So the thing is, there are too little of us. There are not many energy consultants in Kenya at the moment, right? Mainly, I know a company that's uh, our like best energy's competitor would be Snyder, right? But they have a different way of doing it. I'm not too sure how their business model works, but I do know that they do the same IoT systems. They propose the same clean energy, you know. Um, they have the same way of doing the gap analysis as well. Um, yeah, so Snyder would be a big competitor. Um, but yeah, the people doing different ways. That's why I started off with the question, what do you think is the best kind of energy? Because energy is like the different forms of energy now, then the different ways to conduct energy. Like 10 years, 15 years ago, energy consultants wouldn't exist. Like I don't they wouldn't they maybe they would, but they wouldn't be it wouldn't be a profession, definitely, right? So and now there's a growing awareness of energy consulting, and why it's needed as well. And especially if you want to hit the net zero target, um, you need more and more of energy consultants, right? Because it's more about analyzing your data on a daily basis and um, making those reports and making it work as well. So
To be fair, remember we had the discussion as well. Like the way you're saying, yes, it's becoming more and more important. So I'll give an example from our manufacturing side. To export into Europe, for sweaters and other textile garments and stuff, you have to follow their regulations, and their regulations nowadays state that you have to have a very sustainable way of working. And now this is where your expertise comes into play as well. So, like for example, we were given the honor of being chosen by a uh, Austrian firm on a survey on how to save energy, and then they exactly as you said, analyze your business, see where you are losing energy, and try to help you conserve that, and of course renewability and all that kind of stuff as well. And then you get a certificate to allow yourself to export into these markets. So it's like it's good what
yeah,
you guys
I
are
mean
doing.
it's more about impact, right? Um, everybody uses energy, right? Some people use more, some people use less, but realistically speaking, we all consumers of energy, right? So if you think about it, there's a lot of impact to be created. Um, if there was something, if we could use the best energy strategy, unfortunately, I don't see it working. But for small and business, uh, small and medium enterprises, um, with the small energy bills and whatnot, um, if there are systems in place for that, um, I believe there would be even more impact because small businesses can also save their energy where they're struggling with other expenditures. Let's say they're taking out a loan, they whatnot, so their energy expense can be slowly mitigated and decreased through um, the same practices. So if you just apply the same principles to small businesses, I think it would be a game changer as well. But for now, I think it just mainly works with big manufacturers so that you can actually reduce the energy bills as well. It's mainly about reducing energy bills. Yep.
Okay. And also curious how you got into this space. Was sustainability always something that you were interested in?
So when I was in Australia, I used to work as a tax accountant, right? Sustainability was not really um, something I thought of until I came to Kenya, and I realized that I started going into a loophole of what I could do, what I could start, and I came across Best Energy, and I started reading the case studies as well, and just went into a deeper loophole and started developing a questioning mind towards it. Um, and yeah, I just there was like my partner was very interested in the idea as well, and we just had a chat about it, and he decided to initiate by going forward and becoming a best energy partner. And then through him, I slowly started to see what industries he was targeting because he's in the wholesale industry, so he knows all this um, big manufacturers that he sells for, right? Like he sells all the products and whatnot. So he started getting small projects, you know. I started working side by side with him on smaller projects. Then we started off with a bottle shop, you know, and have uh, they have a lot of refrigerators. Um, not a very big energy bill, but we decided just to make the investment by buying the endoscopes and putting them in, and just sort of seeing how the system works. And one thing led to another. Then we got a query, and now we're just going around um, and seeing other manufacturers that or hotel industries that would be willing to take up what CHL have to offer. But we're not. I think we're going to set, like, we've already started looking for clients, not only in Kenya but in Uganda, Rwanda, and places like that 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 have a lot of potential as well. I think in terms of energy, Kenya is more aware compared to other countries in East Africa. Definitely more aware about sustainability practices and whatnot. Like like I said, geothermal, we're one of the front runners in the world. You know, like when you talk about geothermal, Kenya will be amongst the countries you're talking about when it comes to like notably Kengen. They're doing a good job with geothermal. You know, there are other government bodies that are are doing a lot in terms of in the context of energy. Um, but there are a lot of gaps when you go to countries like Uganda, Rwanda, and they they do have big industries as well. Um, so it'll be good to flourish. I think countries like UK, sustainability, the knowledge about it as well is so common, right? Like when I propose the idea of net zero, people ask me what net zero is. You know, when you talk about carbon footprint, some people don't even understand what carbon footprint is. These are people who own big industries, you know, but they've just been so used to a certain way of going about things, and like the certain jargons they're very used to. So they, when you talk about net zero or when you talk about carbon footprint, it just goes through the head. So those are the clients we target that don't have much awareness in regards to this. Yeah.
Mhm. And in working in this space, do you find that it's changed how you live, like personally, in terms of living more sustainably in your personal life?
Yeah. 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 I guess Rishi can tell you this. I shared a room with him. Like we were in Mombasa and Watamu as well. I'm pretty sure. Do you think I was a very sustainable person?
I will not comment.
Well, I think I'm sustainable.
It's good to
Like,
have
you don't
that
have to listen
self
to
passion, but yes.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough. And then
yeah,
also you talked previously about AI and how AI is playing a big impact in
yeah.
the work you're doing. So how's that evolved over time? Like obviously the last, can say, maybe 3 to 4 years is the AI boom has been a lot. But
Yeah.
and then can you talk a bit
So
more about how much of an impact this has made?
yeah, so when it comes to creating energy models, you know, especially with modeling, I've always been with, like working in tax or you know, when you used to do finance units in uni, you were used to different financial models, right? But AI particularly, and the SaaS that we use, gives us the energy models, right? So it gives us a guideline on what energy models to use, and we get a step-by-step process. Although there's a lot of self-learning involved, I believe it's made my life a lot more easier. And the automated reports that once we do have the benchmarks, right? The automated reports just makes it a lot more easier. Let's say you have eight or let's say you have 10 different clients and five of them need a report um, within the next week or so, right? It's going to take you time to analyze all the data that you've used for the 4 months, but AI could make it'll make your life much more easier by just generalizing the reports that you need to use. And realistically speaking, it's a smarter system. It's scary to say this as well. AI is a smarter system, and it can do a better job than me. But I'm just using the SaaS, right? it's a very strange concept, and it's very strange I'm saying this, but realistically speaking, it generalizes a lot, and it makes my life a lot more easier. But not sorry. It's not only with the SaaS or the AI configuration that we have embedded into our systems. I'm talking about AI generally as well. It's just a scary concept. Like it knows more than me. It can do a better job than me. Like
Yeah. And
it's
do you feel
it's
like it's
scary.
made it easier also for people from the client side to just be a bit more, I know the word, like accept a bit more of this whole energy efficiency concept in terms of from that side of things?
Um. So
As in when they can see, better generated reports and, better data and things that are really focusing on actual like cost savings, as you said, do you think it's definitely helped them from that point of things?
yeah, I mean, it just makes life easier for both of us, for both parties. You know. So yeah.
And how do you see, I guess, let's say in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years in terms of the whole attitude of being more energy efficient and sustainable? Because obviously, like net zero 2030 is a goal, but I think if I'm not wrong, like this has been pushed forward by many countries to even like 2050 because it's becoming quite hard to meet that net
Yeah.
zero. And so, how do you see this, this evolving over the next, a couple of decades?
I think you take it as it comes, right? It's a very good point that you say that different countries are 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 trying to achieve the goal by 2030, but then they push it forward to 2050. And it's very important that you mentioned it as well, because the worst thing that can happen for people in the energy consulting field is losing that substance of that net zero target, right? So whatever we can, we just make it towards the company. Our main goal is towards the company and what goals we can implement, right? It may not be net zero within the next 5 years and whatnot, but it's definitely a goal we want to accomplish, right? And we're moving towards it. In terms of the net zero guidelines, I know that Kenya has proposed, I think 2035, they've proposed to 2035. But yet again, Kenya being Kenya, you never know, right? So we just do our part. We understand the concept of net zero, but we mainly focus on our part and doing our very best to accomplish that goal within your business, right? Obviously, net zero is taking as a whole, it's taking a context of a continent or a country or whatnot. But we just use that target to and make it as useful for your particular business. Yeah, and that's the best we can do. Like if we talk about the whole country and the guidelines and them pushing it forward or them pushing it back, right? It's something individuals cannot control, right? So if Kenya proposes net zero by 2050, I'll have to alter the presentation and say, look, this is a goal for 2050, but I want to use it as a unique USP, like a unique selling point in my presentations or whatnot. to actually propose to a business, because if I'm only in a project with them for 5 years, what use to it to them? How useful is it to them for me to say that 2050 is what they're imposing? They'll be like, it's not of significance to us. So yeah, we try and make it to cater to individual companies and that goal. We we want to achieve it faster than other. And like I said, we live in a third world country. There are a lot of gaps in the system. It's up to the private sector. We cannot always rely on government to deliver um, good energy management systems. We have to do our part as a private sector to um, actually come in and deliver what we can do or make an impact as well. And I think that's why Best Energy also is starting to exist more in East Africa, because they've realized there's a big gap, and if nobody does it now, when are you going to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then so for you and then the company CHL, yes, you mentioned that you mean expanding into other countries in East Africa. What's your vision for the future? How big do you want to expand into?
I definitely want to go into Congo, although there's a lot of things
Yeah, a lot of
going
stuff
on.
happening in Congo at the moment.
Yeah, but Congo is the richest country when it comes to minerals, and when it comes to like the mine sites that they have and whatnot. I think they have bigger. There's some companies that would have huge energy waste, right? Especially when it comes to drilling, when it comes to getting all these mines and whatnot, all these minerals and whatnot. It's definitely a bigger industry than Kenya, if you think about it. A country so rich with it's sad what's happening there. But a country such rich with minerals and whatnot, it has a lot of potential, and definitely move into. Um, we'll see how it goes. Uh, make a trip down there, and also try our best to deliver presentations, get a hold of the right people that uh, can be of significance to Cherangani, and how we can help them as well in sustainability practices. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
one.
Yeah, and then I mean, also would certain like regulation also help in terms of companies having to adhere to a certain benchmark of energy efficiency from like a government and policy point of view. Do you feel
Yeah,
like that would definitely benefit?
That's there though. That's
yeah,
there, but it's not.
it's there.
I mean, you just give a bit of money and
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
not
That's
it's
just how.
not widely, like, they're there, but I think we can still do a better job, in terms of all these practices and whatnot. But like I said earlier, Kenya is quite, in terms of energy, compared to sub-Saharan Africa, Kenya is quite ahead compared to, let's say, Uganda, Rwanda, and all these other countries. It's just that there's a bigger market now in Rwanda and Uganda, because the issue of sustainability is slowly growing on them, right? Like I mentioned earlier, like in terms of geothermal, like we have a big company called Kengen in Kenya, and there are multiple um, companies as well that are doing geothermal, right? And soon, I believe Kenya is going to be surviving. Most Kenyan companies are going to be surviving on geothermal if touch with everything goes well, right? Which is going to make it a lot more cheaper to get electricity as well. So there are a lot of advantages as well. It's just that it's for individuals like me. It requires a lot of capital, and yeah, it's not the most sustainable practice, because there's also drilling involved, right? So you also have to look at it from a bigger context. But yeah, definitely Rwanda, Uganda. I feel like I'm not talking much about the markets, because I want to go to Rwanda and see it for myself, and get more exposure in that market. So it's along the lines, but yeah, let's see if we can get a viable option, like a viable project to go forward with, and we'll definitely keep that in the books. But yeah, CHL is also growing. It's in its baby phase of everything, you know. It just started a year ago, and yeah, so it's been a learning journey. We we've hit a lot of bumps along the way, uh, but yeah, I think we've we've polished up in terms of spreading the message, and you know, spreading the message to one person would make a difference, but you spread it to 1,000 people and you do your part there, um, you're definitely going to get results. And you know, it's more about appealing to the masses rather than just giving up when 10 don't work out or 20 don't work out, right? So um, yeah, it's definitely for the long term, not for the short term. And sustainability is a goal for the long term. You can't just say, "Oh, a year of sustainability didn't work. We're gonna give up this idea. It's not gonna work." Like, you can't mention net zero anymore, because look, it's we tried it for, we're saying 2030, but in this 1 year it's not working. Uh, you know, it's mainly for the long term, and yeah, let's see how it goes.
Amazing. Looking forward to seeing how you guys grow, because I think what you're doing is making a real impact on society and on the economy. And I know you I mean, you're working with businesses, but I think that that impact also trickles down to society and the economy as a whole, and definitely makes a positive difference. Which is great to see. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. Rishi, over to you.
Yeah, I think also, to be honest, that's it for me. I'll give you a interesting figure, actually, like what we started with when you're talking about solar and how people think it's the most, like that first thing that comes to our mind. So, like for us as well, our biggest source of renewable electricity is solar. Now, take an example, our usage on its highest peak hours would be 4.5 kilowatts or something like that. I'm getting the figures wrong. Um, and the solar capacity can produce exactly that much, 110% of what it can consume. But the efficiency from that is only 27 to 30%. So it's quite something, despite being on the equator where the sun is quite, almost every day it's there. It's only 27 to 30%. So it shows you exactly, how much gap, yes, there is for energy spilling out of your business. That 70%. From that, there's so much more. And exactly what Navraj said, he's targeting that area, and a lot of money is lost and people don't realize that. So like, even for us, for example, we would tend to think that solar, yes, will save us a lot of money, but in reality a lot more can be saved, and there's a benefit for the environment. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yep. And yeah, so um, there are a lot of case studies in regards to this, but if you go to Best Energy Kenya, um, or the main Best Energy as well, they have a lot of case studies that could change your perception on what the best kind of energy is. But to me, the uh, the the energy management system that I'm part of, I believe, is the cheapest, cleanest, and um, most monumental way of analyzing your expenditure. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it right now, and that's why I'm sort of in this business as well. And that I look at it as a long term option for me being in it as well.
Rishi, do you want to carry on to the
Yeah,
final
yeah.
part?
Fine. So, what's your favorite hobby slash sport?
Winning money from you at golf next Thursday. It's on, bro. So mainly golf and boxing. Yeah.
Thank you for answering my question after stating you like gambling. Um, question number 2, another interesting one. What's one interesting quote you may have read or heard you want to share with all the listeners?
Yeah. Never let your current reality dismiss your current trajectory.
Nice. I like that.
Atomic Habits.
Oh, that's a really good one. All right. So, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Eminem Superman. No, I'm joking. I can't do it word for word.
Rajat is good with that one.
Really, Superman. I don't know. Maybe something to do with Drake. I don't know, Hotline Bling or something like that.
Okay, interesting. All right. If there's any 3 people you could meet, dead or alive, who would you want to meet?
If there are any 3 people I want to meet, dead or alive, definitely Tiger Woods. Who would be a second one? I would actually want to do like a 4-ball with 3 people: Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, and Ricky Fowler. And those are the main people I would want to just
nice.
play like a round of golf with, and yeah, grab a beer after.
Nice one. All right. What another deep question? How do you handle failures or setbacks? Okay, you want to give an example if you want.
So if you want to be successful in life, you got to encounter failures, right? There's no successful man or woman who's successful and never seen failures. It's part of life, and if you're not failing, you're not creating a new pathway to succeeding. So failure is part of it, and once you understand that, it's a clear journey, right? So yeah, failing is part of the journey and part of the success.
Nice.
So you have to take it as it comes.
That's a good one. All right, and the last question is, what movie or series would you recommend to all our listeners?
Full Swing is good. There was one, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I've watched the whole season of it. It's Griselda. I don't know. Have you guys watched it? It's about it's about a Colombian drug lord. What's that lady from Modern Family? Gloria.
Sofia Vergara.
Yeah. So she's the main character in that, right? So it's like it's actually a true story, and it's something similar to Pablo's and El Chapo's story, but yeah, she was also very known in Miami and Colombia, and yeah, it definitely a series is good when you've watched 4 continuously, and it's like 12 a.m. and you have to go to sleep, but you're still going to put on another one. So it's that kind of a show, right?
Nice one. I think that's it from me. I'll hand over to Raju.
Okay, yeah, I think that was a very interesting episode. I think thanks Navraj for your insights. That was actually really good.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I'll pass on the website and whatnot. So whoever's interested, if you want to drop a link or whatever after this podcast in terms of the case studies, let me know, and I'll be of help. Thank you.
Amazing. We'll put all those details in the description. And to everyone listening, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, like, share, subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.